Good. So, good morning, everybody. Great to see you at this May edition of, well, it is the April edition of Book Club, but gave you an extra week to read the book because it was a good bit of detail in this one. Book is Drive by Daniel Pink, which I first came across. Dan Pink, it's got to be 12 years ago, and I could have sworn I'd read the book, and then I started reading it. I go, I've not read this. So I think we saw him live. I think I've watched a few of his videos, and so I got the overall gist of the book, but I hadn't actually got into the detail of it. So for me, it was quite good to, I say normally it's a reread, but for this case, it was an actual first read, and really sort of find that there's a lot more meat obviously in it, and his research and how he's come to what I thought was a fairly simple philosophy, but a lot of depth and a lot of places where we can use it. We've already had a number of discussions with various clients about you bringing this in, utilizing it to motivate people, so it's been really good. So I mean, everyone's been to book club before, but those watching, if you want to come and join us, really it's about giving us a reason, and a deadline to work to read a book and work towards increasing art learning, understanding, but then actually talking amongst like-minded people, because there's always areas within these books that we don't pick up on, or it's good when you hear it, it reinforces that learning in your own mind as well. And for me, it really helps because I have to present the slides, so I get another learning, because there's a bit of teaching of it as well, which is I do quite enjoy. So this is our book, I say Drive by Daniel Pink. So a little bit about sort of Mr. Pink. I hadn't realised he'd written 7 books already, so I've read a few of them now, but they're all very good. I put them in similar vein to Jim Collins. A few of you read Jim Collins, so quite a scientific approach to his books. A lot of research that goes into it, and that interesting one, chief speechwriter for Al Gore. I mean, didn't really get Al Gore very far, but the fact that he sort of regarded that highly within those spheres as well, which is good to see. So where is my book? Lost my book. So there was I think how many chapters sort of were there? Chapter 6. So there was 6 main chapters, and then there was about 3 sort of steps at the end where he sort of puts them into action and gives you some ideas to put it into different contexts, from parenting through to the workplace as well. So that was quite good. But chapter 1 was really sort of setting the scene and looking at the rise and fall of motivation 2.0. So what are our key things from this sort of first part?
This is where he introduces sort of the concepts of intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, and introduces the concept, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think one of the key bits of the book is the fact that rewards can actually potentially make you work less hard and actually discourage people rather than encourage people. So I think that's sort of one of the key bits of the book, and he starts that in the first chapter.
Yeah, I think it was about doing the puzzles, wasn't it?
That's right.
Where they sort of, some were rewarded, some weren't rewarded, and they actually found those that just engaged in solving the puzzle were far more effective than those that had the thought of winning sort of a reward, or actually what happens is the fear of losing the reward, the sort of panic start. Oh, if we don't do this, then we're not going to get it, and then panic sets in. And I think a lot of people then go into short-term thinking, what's the quickest route to win the reward, rather than solving the problem. I think that's when he sort of starts looking at the motivation 2.0, where it's a simple task and you don't really have to use that thinking. It's just, as you said, do this, get that. Then it works quite nicely. As soon as you have to put some cognitive thought into it, that it then slows you down, because you're more focused on the reward rather than actually focus on the actual job itself. Any sort of what we call BFOs, blinding flashes of the obvious. So when you read this, that you thought about previous jobs you've had, or where you've tried this within your business, the motivation 2.0, and it hasn't quite panned out, or anyone that thinks actually it's worked really well, the carrot and stick approach. So Nick?
No, carrot and stick doesn't work. Even if you try and shove the carrot down their throat, it still doesn't work. I mean,
I'm glad you said down their throat, not somewhere else.
Yeah. Oh no, that was a stick. No, the thing that really hit home for me on this one was the fact that, like when they were comparing Microsoft Encyclopedia to Wikipedia, it kind of really hit home that actually, if people are doing what they love, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be much better than, just doing something because it's a task they've been set.
Yeah.
So, people building Wikipedia because it's, something they're really passionate about, or a particular topic that they feel that they really want to share with everyone, even though there's no actual reward for them, that was the real kind of motivator for them.
Yeah. Cool. Anyone else got any sort of stories of motivation 2.0 not working?
I think just in a general sense, I think personally, and I think in terms of being managed and managing people, don't like to be managed in that way, where just being told this is a task you've got to do, go and get on with it. Obviously, later on he goes into autonomy and stuff like that as well. But just from my personal experience, I don't like to be managed, and I don't like to manage people like that. So, yeah, that's what I would say in terms of my own personal experience.
Yeah.
I think that there are certain people that are motivated, and obviously the book sort of highlighted that as well, that there are people that are motivated from the external sort of monetary aspects. Sort of for us personally, within our business, I think we're fairly fortunate that most of the people work for us, certainly with the salaries that they're on. They're motivated by the interest and the opportunities. But certainly, there's people there, and particularly salespeople that can be externally motivated, and in some businesses, I'm sure that works, where you're just sort of wanting to sell a product or sell more of a particular type of product.
Yeah, no, I think it's and so some people are, it is about achieving the goal and that reward that comes from it. And it did make me think about, well, in business, why did we set up our businesses? There was an element of motivation 2.0 for that, isn't there? I set my business up so I can make money. We look at the profitability of the business, and our business plans are grow sales, grow profits. So there is an element there, that 2.0 actually is functioning. But I think the key to this, if it's the only thing, that's when it goes wrong. And that's
a
when
limit to it, isn't there? There's like a limit of how much you could achieve with just motivation 2.0.
Yeah, it's a blunt stick, it's, because you could say, well, if your business was just about profit, and cash, you probably wouldn't do some of the things that you actually do. You probably, treat the people differently, the way that you would build it. When we talk about vision, values and purpose, well, I can't be bothered with that. It's just about, getting the most out of people and, make as much money as I possibly can. You probably saw that on, if you watch things like The Wolf of Wall Street, and, the trading side things, and where it goes wrong is where the focus is purely on that motivation 2.0 rather than it's a part of it. So I think the key to this is don't dismiss it. It's not that it's bad and we should never do it, but it's a part of this. And that's where, for me, and it's, I know I've talked to you guys a lot about these 3 stages of brain function: reptilian, limbic and neocortex. And it was part of this book that brought me to this conclusion that, motivation 1.0 is away from pain, which is that reptilian brain that just gets us, I don't want to be here, so I'll do whatever it takes to move away. But that only takes us as far as a comfort zone. So as soon as we're out of pain, motivation 1.0 stops. Motivation 2.0 is towards pleasure. Okay, so what is it that I want? But once I've got what I want, then that stops. Yeah, it's motivation 3 that is all about the purpose, autonomy and mastery, that sort of works with the neocortex, and that never stops because you can never master something. Purposes are generally very big, so it takes years, decades to actually achieve purpose. And an autonomy, as long as we're able to have that control over what we do, we're not just doing what we're told, then again, we're engaged with the actual task in hand. So very much, although he doesn't refer to the to the brain side of things, for me it fits perfectly over it, and says why these 3 actually work. It's just because that's how human beings are wired. So
I must admit, when I read it, I immediately thought of what you've taught us about those different levels of brain function.
So chapter 2 then was sort of really why the carrots and sticks don't work. So that was just what I got from that chapter 1. So that we talked about. So the carrots and sticks then, so why they don't work. That's what I got out. Those are sort of the key headings. So any of those sort of jump out at you and are worth discussing?
I think number 3 is quite an interesting one. So very simple tasks can work sometimes as a carrot and stick approach, but if it's a much more sort of expansive and creative type task, it works a lot less well if you have that sort of approach.
Yeah. And that goes back to the puzzles thing, wasn't it? Was this one where we talked about was it the matchbox? Was it that?
Yeah, sticking a matchbox and a candle, put the candles in it and sticking it to the wall. Yeah, that kind of thing.
That was very, very interesting. Yeah, it was page 42 in my book. Yeah. Because it's you're focused on the reward of actually doing the task rather than involving the task itself. I always think, you think people like, why do people do Sudoku puzzles and crosswords? Okay, for some of them there's a prize, isn't there? So you send that, if you can manage the Times crossword and send it in, you get a prize or things like that. But people aren't really doing it for that. They're doing it to tax their mind. We love solving problems. That's what our brains are there for. What is the goal I'm trying to achieve? Right, let me get on and actually do it. And if you end up, I don't know, because some of you have you got kids that do puzzles?
things like Lego and stuff, I suppose that's sort of applicable as well, I guess.
But I was just thinking that, you know, if a child is working on a puzzle and you come in and go, oh, look, let me just do it for you, what does the kid then do? Is he grateful that you've come in and solved his problem for him or her? No. You know, it's like, just let me do it. Let me fail. Let me mess it up, because I'd rather do it my way and fail than I would do it right by doing it your way. So I think often with these things, if you go back to child behavior, you go back to how children learn, how they solve things, what motivates them. You know, we're no different as adults, you know, but often perhaps our expectations are high or whatever it is, but we don't give them that autonomy, that space to actually do it themselves. And I think in a business world, it's tough, because, you know, we've got a job to do, we've got deadlines, there's things that need to be done, and it's like, the quickest way is just do it myself, just take control, or like just do it this way. So what, I suppose, any thoughts on, you know, when you do leave people to do things, that why you feel it necessary to get involved more than perhaps you should, and take over, or, you know, go back into directive mode rather than supportive mode?
Bad experiences previously.
Yeah.
Being let down in the past makes it difficult to then kind of trust that it's going to be done properly.
So reading this, then, if you go back to those past cases where it didn't work, you know, and you were let down, do you start to see perhaps why that happened, or, you know, what you perhaps misconstrued at the time?
Not really. I mean, it depends. It's obviously not the same for all scenarios, but there's been occasions when, no, I can't see where I went wrong.
Anyone else? Has anybody got?
Going back to reasons for jumping in, I think, you know, the fact that you enjoy solving problems yourself is
Good point, Addy.
one reason you might get stuck in.
Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely, I think that's a great one. That, why would you have all the fun solving the puzzle where you know, this is far more exciting than what I'm actually doing myself. I like that one.
It's almost self-perpetuating. If you jump in, you take control, then the person you're working with, their performance drops, and then you look back and think, oh, their performance was very good, so you step in again, and it's you see what I mean?
You create the problem.
Yes.
You know,
it's that number one, extinguishing the intrinsic motivation.
You know, if there was some there the first time that they go, oh, I'm a little bit out of my depth, I can't cope with this, you come in, solve the problem, and they go, well, yeah, great, so I won't bother next time, because, you know, as soon as I get stuck, you're going to come in and solve it for me anyway, so why should I try? Why should I bother? Cool. I like that one.
I wonder if some of this stuff is, you know, in terms of this list, it is a bit like when you put people on a game show, and or particularly number 3 about, you know, crushing creativity. You know, if you're giving somebody this sort of strong rewards-based incentive, it kind of puts them on the spot. And in the same way that, you know, somebody stands up there on Family Fortunes and says something ridiculous because they're on the spot and all the pressure's on them, and they could win a big prize and everybody's, you know, they're on national TV. Then if you give somebody a really big sort of financial incentive or something like that, then it puts them in the same situation, and they like you say, they start to narrow down their thinking, and they just kind of get blocked.
Yeah, I think, when you listen to a quiz show or something, and you're sitting there going, you know the answer, and it's like, well, idiot, why don't you know the answer?
Yeah.
And I'm sure people, will be on, do the quiz. Oh yeah, I can, like, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Yeah, I can answer all these questions. I'm going to go on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and they last about 3 rounds, because of that pressure. And you think about it, as soon as you put yourself under pressure, which part of your brain kicks in? Reptilian brain, fight or flight. But so you're putting blood and energy into that part of the brain which can't solve puzzles. It's fight or flight, fight, flight, or freeze. It'll do one of the 3 things. So it goes into panic mode. And as soon as you feel under panic, then you act that way. So your heart rate goes up, which then sets off more adrenaline. So again, you're in a downward spiral. Too much pressure takes you away from that creativity, that problem solving. And that's why people, can get flustered. And when you're asking them to do things, if they go into that sort of flustered panic mode, then they're going to reduce their cognitive functioning to actually solve their own problem. Which is why then you step in and go, okay, well, you're rubbish, so I'll do it for you.
Yeah, it's worth keeping that in mind when interviewing people, isn't it?
But very much on interviews, because that you're putting them in a risk, a reward situation. If you do well, you get a job. Whereas that's not a great place to put somebody. That's why I like the group interview, because it takes a bit of that pressure away. This is just an informal chat. We're just telling you about us. We want to learn about you. Clive, did you want to say something? I saw you unmute yourself there.
I was just going to say about the going back to the teaching in schools and education, and the carrot and stick approach, and not trying to create the bringing creativity so much in the education system. And I think that was something that the book tried to bring out as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was a chapter at the end on the education thing, and how we can move away from that, rewarding children with A pluses and A stars and things like that, into the effort people put into it. If you put effort into it, that's what we're looking for, rather than the end result.
Yeah.
The addictive sort of bit, I thought was quite interesting. Often you need a certain size carrot the first time round. The next time round, you need an even bigger carrot, and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger until it just doesn't work.
Yeah. Clive and I were having a talk on this yesterday, because we were looking to recruit a business development manager, and in a sales role, it's normally a commission-based role. So you pay them a low basic and a high commission, because that should incentivize them to go and do more sales. But in light of this, it's difficult then to see, well, actually, if the carrot and stick approach doesn't work, why in sales then are so many people on commission based and seem to be motivated by it?
I think the challenge there, though, is it comes back to some of the stuff that he talks about in later chapters around, you've got to have a base level of sort of salary and benefits that kind of takes that off the table. Because if people feel they're not getting something fair, then immediately their motivation will dive. And if everyone else in the industry is getting paid a big commission for making sales, then you know, people are going to feel it's not fair if they're not.
Yeah.
So does that then self-perpetuate, and you kind of get, you know, there's a better way of doing things, but because of this sort of fairness thing, I don't know how you get out of that. But I mean, you know, we've always, you know, gone with a, you know, just a profit share on the business for the whole team, rather than, you know, any kind of sort of commissions on sales or anything like that, which I think is better. But I appreciate that in some industries that sort of, you know, sales commission is a really big thing and something that people would kind of demand, unless you gave them a massive base salary. But then if they're rubbish, then that might not work out so well.
I mean, I think, you know, Clive, I think the conclusion we came to was, well, let them set it. You know, you decide, not have a company wide. It's, you know, what motivates the individual. You know, do you want a low basic and the ability to earn, you know, big commission if you really smash sales targets? Because that, I can see, would motivate some people if you back yourself, because there's people out there that are on 100% sales commission. You know, they get paid nothing unless they sell, and they do really well out of it, you know, because they back themselves, they've got the autonomy, they're mastering it. Yeah, you know, I've got unlimited earning potential, and that's what we do when we start our own businesses, in effect, isn't it? You know, no one pays us a salary to start our own business. It's down to us. You know, we've got to, you know, get out there, make the first sale. So we're still motivated, and in a way, that's why I still come back to those three things. You know, away from pain, right? I'm in a painful situation. I have no money, so that's going to get me up in the morning. I have the ability to earn more money, so, and get the things I want. Motivation 2.0, and I'm doing something I love and I enjoy. Motivation 3.0.
I think it also depends upon the type of business, and I think you know, as Andy IT Dev, sort of, you know, their business and to a certain extent our business as well are very much providing solutions rather than just a simple product. If you're just providing a product, a widget, there's a lot less sort of intrinsic as many as you can. So then you're looking at somebody that is just motivated more by the the external financial motivators.
Yeah.
Whereas IT Dev and ourselves, it is very much a solutions business, and you've got that inherent sort of challenge with that, and so you want people that are going to going to want the challenge.
Yeah, and I think it, you know, when you look at 100% commission jobs, they're very much, you know, if then, aren't they? If I sell this, I get money in my back pocket, and it's instantaneous. I get that instant reward. I've sold this, I've made some money, right? I get that money. With, as you said, Clive, with your, you know, roles, they make the sale now, but the money probably doesn't come in for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. So that if then is the gap is too big to give me that motivation, that hit of dopamine that I need, that will drive me on to the next sale and on to the next sale, on to the next sale. That's what we're really managing here, is that sort of, you know, that chemical pleasure drugs that, you know, that motivation 2.0 does work for. You know, if I do this, I get this. I do this, I get this. Yeah, great. But, you know, it does create short-term thinking. Where's my next sale? Where's my next sale? Where's my next sale? And isn't going to allow a lot of creativity, because if I'm not making sales and I don't know how to make a sale, then I'm going to get a bit lost. because I had that within when we've taken on business development managers, thinking that 2.0 would work, and as soon as the one thing they thought could work didn't work, they didn't have any of their ideas. And because there was a need to go and sell, they just carried on doing what they'd done, and getting more and more frustrated that what they were doing wasn't working. And then it's a pointless exercise because they're not winning and I'm not winning. So that really didn't work. So this is where he says where it does work, it can work. So if something is a little bit less engaging, it makes it more engaging. So you create a game around it. So it's gamifying. It's a bit like telemarketing. If you're doing telemarketing, picking up the phone, I've got to phone 100 people, incentivizing that does work, because the actual job in itself is probably not necessarily that rewarding. So actually putting the incentives into that, can work. If it is a boring task, I did like that. Be empathetic. Don't pretend that it is an exciting job. Look, this is the dullest job you'll ever do, but it needs to be done. And if you do it well, you get paid. Okay. It's a bit. I remember when I was, working with my dad and sort of weekend work. It was like I had to clean the toilets and clean the factory. It was the most dull job ever. But as soon as I'd done it, there was 20 quid in my pocket, and I could go down the toy shop and buy the next toy I wanted. So it was very much a if I do this, then I get paid, and job done. There was no real engagement in it, and allow people to do it in their way. Don't control them. Give them suggestions, and a little bit like, remember the green and clean video that we showed at the lunch and dinner. You can do this any way you want. Down to you. So give them that space to be able to do it their way, so they can actually own the task. So chapter 3 was then going into a bit more detail on the intrinsic and extrinsic motivators. What were our thoughts around this, Steve? What jumped out at you on chapter 3?
Just looking at my notes. So I'm just I'm not sure which section comes under which, but one of the things I noticed is giving people specific praise. So you don't just give general praise, you actually have to give specific praise. That's a really good reward. I don't know if we're at that section yet.
Okay. And how did you relate that to your career and where things that have happened in your life then?
Well, again, it's just generally that motivation, isn't it? It's sort of being internally motivated rather than externally. I think that's really important, that the type of work you do is fulfilling. So I know personally I'll work a lot harder if that's the case for me.
Yeah. But you said about the praise, make sure the praise was specific. Is that, because that to me would be an external driver, that I need external praise to make me feel good.
Yeah, I think it's more around just saying, oh, you've done a good job. That doesn't really, I don't know, that's not a very good motivating factor. But if someone says specifically, you've done a good job because of this, you've done this part particularly well, then you can use that feedback, and that's much more helpful. And I think it's the same with other people as well. If you're telling them you've done really well, this is the part that I was really pleased with, that's a lot more meaningful.
And do you think that, do we do enough of that? When we're managing people, do you think we give them enough of the positive feedback? We pick them up when they do it wrong, obviously, because they've done it wrong, and we need to steer them back. But do you think we give them that sort of positive feedback when they are doing things right enough?
No, probably not. I mean, it's one of those things, can you give too much positive feedback? possibly not. You know, it's always nice to receive positive feedback as long as it's genuine and as long as it's, as I said, it's specific and it's actually meaningful. I think I remember him saying about kids, they can see through when sort of when a compliment isn't genuine, but when it is genuine, they can tell. And I think people are the same as well. They know. So if you put thought into it, and you know, someone realizes that they've noticed that you've done something good, I think that's always going to be very, very motivating for people.
Definitely. You know, catch people doing things right, you know, reinforce the behavior that you're after. And that's why I think having the company values, you know, written down is good, because if you catch somebody really living to the values, that's your time to go in and go, look, I saw you do that. That was well in line with our values. Brilliant job. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, it was, wasn't it? And that, I think that gives you more options then to give that positive feedback, rather than just have you done the job correctly. Because to be honest, I pay you to do the job well. You know, I you know, with Nick, you know, I expect you to go in, get a circuit board, you know, wire it up, leave it clean and tidy. You know, I shouldn't have to praise you for doing what I'm paying you to do. If you then do something that lives to the values, like communication or, you know, over and above to the client, okay, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for those extras, you know, where you are really living the values of the company. Cool. Anything else from this, Nick, to Type X and I?
Not really. I mean, yeah, not really. So the Type X's are the, you know, the people that need to be motivated. The Type I are the internally motivated, aren't they? That almost need less motivating because they're self-motivated. But how many actual employees are Type I opposed to Type X's?
I think the question then probably, Nick, is how many people rather than employees. You know, unless you've gone out of your way just to employ one particular type, you're going to have an average across everybody.
But Type I's are more likely to be, you know, self-employed or starting their own business.
I would disagree, Nick.
Okay.
I think his point here is, you know, Type I behavior is made, you know, anyone can adapt to it. I think go back to kids, you know, our kids, Type I or Type X. I think the majority Type I. I think it's inbuilt into us. What happens over time?
They're made to Type X's.
They're made into Type X's because the businesses they've worked in have all been Type X's. You know, if you do this, you get this. Okay, right. Well, I changed my behavior then, and it can. That's why I think sometimes you take on people that are a bit long in the tooth and be in the wrong organizations. They're actually really difficult to change that mentality. You know, they don't take ownership. They don't.
Motivation 2.0 is encouraging Type X's.
And 1.0 is, you know, well, I don't do anything until I'm told, you know, leave it to last minute, you know, because that's, that was the recognition I got in the previous, you know, the previous place. So
that's a bit of a plot twist, isn't it? So actually we're making Type X behavior by the, you know, the wrong style of motivation.
I mean, people will become, you know, plus or minus 10% of the people they hang around with. So if your entire organization is Type X motivation 2.0, well, that's what you'll create. Now,
I'm sure there's a large variation with different jobs as well. I mean, some jobs are inherently vocational, and they must be in, or, you know, very highly populated by type I's, you know, I don't think many people would go into, you know, teaching or nursing or what have you if, you know, they weren't intrinsically motivated to do that, because there are, you know, easier things you could do for the money.
But then if you think about, I don't know it well enough, but I'm guessing here the NHS and the performance metrics is all suddenly, you know, they're intrinsically motivated people because they're in the healthcare, and then the whole organisation turns into a extrinsically motivated organisation because they've got to hit targets. They've got to hit these. If you don't hit these numbers, then you're doing a bad job. You know, well, I'm just trying to care for people. That's my limited knowledge of watching Holby City, anyway. But you do find people that leave those businesses because they have, you know, taken away all of the intrinsic motivators. You know, the ability to do a good job, the ability to have autonomy, mastery. You know, that they've gone, and people just go, okay, well, I'm here because I'll just do the job then. I'll just go through the motions because, you know, it's better than the alternative, which is to leave and not have a job. And so, yeah, I do feel that, you know, businesses, I'm not saying your business, you know, businesses can drive. I personally believe we all have that type I motivation within us. You know, that's, yeah, because otherwise you wouldn't play golf, you wouldn't do your hobbies, you know, you wouldn't do these things. You know, there was a I can't think who was it, Brian Tracy quote, it said, you know, all of your employees are energetic, motivated, enthusiastic, apart from the 8 hours they work for you. You know, because they are, you look in their lives, you know, they're not paid to do what they do outside. You know, you're not paid to go to the gym. You're not paid to play sport, you know. Yeah. So if you believe that, and I think that's the big thing, if you believe they are intrinsically, then our job, you know, as employers is to create the space in which we can nurture and encourage that. And I think, you know, most of you have sort of, you know, are achieving that. I don't think we're the, you know, at the bottom of the pile, yeah, at all. But we're always looking for extras. And also, when we take on people, understand they may have come from an extrinsically motivated organisation, so there may be some reassimilation of the way they go about things for when they come and work for us. Because if they're expecting a carrot and a stick and you don't give it to them, then actually they may underperform. Oh, I didn't realize I had to do that until I did. Oh, okay. So give them that free rein sometimes can be a bit scary for somebody who's not been used to it. So, excuse me. So then he looks at the four areas, so the 3 areas.
Time, wasn't it?
So this was the autonomy. So give people the autonomy around some key areas. So
I struggled with that one because, you know, that's where he talked about, you know, the flexibility around, you know, hours or, you know, having the 20% time to work on, you know, problems that they know about. I don't know how that works in a service kind of business, because if I said to the guys, right, okay, you know, you got 1 day a week where you can do, you know, what you want, but you've got to solve a problem.
Yeah.
I don't really know how that would go down. I mean, I do think maybe for, you know, for one of the engineers who's more, you know, involved with the technical side, I could give him, you know, maybe half a day or something a week to, you know, think of ways to improve on, you know, the services that we're providing. But I don't know how, as a blanket policy, that would work.
I would agree. It's for some businesses, you know, certainly, you know, very wealthy businesses that are making shitloads of money and losing 20% of their time is like, yeah, okay, it's like, it's not going to impact our bottom line. For most of us, you know, if I lose a day, you know, even a day, a month's work, it has an impact on the bottom line.
But it did make me think, you know, when we're working for like, you know, 80% productive time, you know, it made me think, well, actually that 20% of non-productive time, you know, I could give them the flexibility of how they see that, you know, working best for them. You know, as long as they hit their 80% productive times, then they, you know, effectively they could have a day off a week if they wanted, but, or, you know, I don't know. It might drive the productive hours more, but then I don't want to, you know, pressure them to book hours that aren't necessary.
Yeah, I mean, if we're looking, because the danger sometimes is we look at multiple things and try and solve them in one. And if you understand why something works, break it down, then you can attack each one individually. If you look at what he's saying about autonomy, you know, is give people autonomy around the task that they're doing. Okay, the way that they, you know, the ability to almost sort of choose to a certain degree what they actually do. When they do it, so the time that they've got to do it, how they do it, and who they work with. Okay, now
imagine that being a bit of a shit show. Oh yeah, guys, you know, this is a task. You know, how do you want to do it?
You can choose what you do, when you do it,
yeah.
how you do it, who you do it with.
Yeah.
There you go. Off you go. Actually, if you do all of that, then you don't need me.
Yeah.
I can bugger off on holiday for a month, and you could just run the business.
Yeah. I suppose maybe that's more of a, you know, that's more of a way to approach it with AD in the office. That's, you know, he can set all of that how he sees fit. But, you know, at the engineer level, I don't know how you get them all involved in that kind of autonomy kind of thing.
I think that the point of breaking it down like that is almost that you don't have to give autonomy in all areas, because it's not always practical. If, you know, if you've told the customer you're going to turn up at 10 o'clock, then, well, you know, 10 o'clock, you have no autonomy over time. You do have to be there at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you want to, you know, use a slightly different technique or whatever to achieve the goal, and you've got that freedom.
Yeah.
I think if you know, some of this is perception. Do you perceive that you have autonomy over these things? Okay, so if I was working for you and I was doing stuff that I didn't like doing hours that I didn't want to do hours, doing it a way I didn't like, and I didn't like the people, and I had to do that, I had no option with that, then could you see that I'd be a bit peed off?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay. If I feel that, look, I can talk to you about the tasks I'm doing. Are you enjoying the work you're doing? You know, is there a particular area you'd like to do more of, focus on, use your skills? Yeah. Well, I'd really like to do more of these jobs. You know, okay, great. Well, when those come up, I'll put you onto those jobs. Yeah. Time. Yeah. Are you happy with 9 till 5? Yeah. Or do you want to be, you know, we want to be able to do weekend shifts or night shifts, or, you know, start early, finish early. You know, what would suit you and the business at the same time? Okay. And most people are going to go, actually 9 to 5 is fine, you know, because that's the way of the world. You know, most people are conditioned to do that anyway. But, you know, sometimes, you know, actually different shift patterns would work really well for me.
Yeah.
Okay. Most of us, I think, the technique, how you do it, they're given a pretty free rein to do that, but it might be, you know, well, actually, let's have a think tank, you know, once a month of ways that we can improve the way we do certain jobs. So I feel that I can, you know, actually, we're doing it this way. I think that's a stupid way of doing it. You know, we're wasting time, we're wasting money. I'd like a way to actually express myself, to find ways to improve that. Okay, and the team side of it, you know, if I really hate working with Nick, you know, I need a way to express that and improve the people I'm working with. So a lot of this, I think, can be done during appraisals. You know, if you do the quarterly appraisals, pick these up. You know, maybe not every time you do an appraisal, but have it in the back of your mind. You know, are there any issues? You know, have you got anything you'd like to, you know, how could we improve each one of these? Okay, so I think it is about understanding that what is that motivator. The motivator is the autonomy, the ability to have control over what I do. That's not necessarily saying I do what I want to do, because we all understand, you know, we're all working, basically we're all working for other people anyway. You know, as business owners, we're working for our clients, you know, and our clients, when they phone up, we have to sort of, you know, do our best to actually serve them. So we're all serving others, but we want that autonomy on how we serve and how we go about it. That's the key bit. Any other thoughts on autonomy?
I think another one, obviously sort of missing from the list, is where as well. And if you told people 3 years ago, the majority of people are going to be able to work where they want, not necessarily in an office, maybe not even at home. A lot of people would say that's way too much freedom and too much autonomy. But now it's happened, you could potentially argue, well, it's actually worked out okay in quite a lot of instances. So that's another sort of aspect as well, I think, with the where aspect as well.
Yeah, well, I think that's, you know, definitely a good point there, is, you know, where you actually carry out the work, you know, have that, you know, now I think we're getting better. You know, COVID has made us be able to cope with remote working far better than, you know, perhaps we were before. But for some, it's not working. You know, some it's not the best place. You know, and a lot of people prefer to come into work and, you know, actually work better in a work office situation they would do at home. But again,
that's
the feeling
almost
of choice is
yeah,
key.
Exactly. That's almost autonomy in itself, though, isn't it? Saying almost being forced to work at home is taking away autonomy. Being able to choose, do you like to work in office? Do you like to work at home? Which is better for you? That's almost like the most amount of autonomy, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, that's you know, the COVID thing was, well, you have to work from home, and, you know, while it suited some people it was just, I really don't want to do this. You know, I know I'm not going to be as effective. We have to do it, but you know, we don't want to. So
I think working from home gives more time autonomy as well. You know, if you want to, you know, take a 10-minute break and go and sit in the garden, put the laundry on, whatever it is you want to do, you know, you can do that if you're working from home. Yeah.
But then sometimes it's less autonomy because, you know, the kids are there and, you know, you've got to do things because other people, you know, you've got other demands on your time when you're at home. Yeah. You know, and I know in the early days when I worked from home, there was an expectation that I would do the laundry and the washing up and things like that. I said, well, I'm at work. You know, you wouldn't phone me up sort of at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and go, okay, could you just come home and do the laundry? You know, because I'm there's an expectation. So yeah, so I think that's the big thing, is be aware of it, talk about it, you know, and even if you sort of say, well, look, we can't do that, and people understand why we can't do that, I still think the autonomy is there. Because the ultimate autonomy is, well, if you don't like it, then go. You know, you don't have to stay working it. That's your ultimate autonomy, you know, is, you know, if you really don't, well, no one's forcing you to stay here. If all of our working conditions don't fit what you want to do, that's fine. You know, off you go. But I think human beings, you know, we do expect a certain amount of rules, regulations, and things that we don't have to think about on a regular basis. I think go back to sometimes, you know, I was going to say about clothing, you know, what we wear. You know, people like to have autonomy about what they wear, but actually a lot of people like to wear a uniform. And I know, Nick, when you did your, all your shirts and things like that, everyone was really pleased with that. And you could argue, well, I'm taking autonomy away from you because I'm making you wear something, a uniform.
Yeah.
So complete freedom, of everything can actually put people into, actually put them into a bit of a scary situation. We do like some sense of regulation. So if you've done the disc and the motivators, you'll see on there, some people are motivated by regulatory things. They like sense and order. They like to have a system, a process, a way we do things. As long as I buy into that and it's not forced upon me, I have a choice, which is ultimately, do I want to work here or not work here? Then I think that still works. So mastery then, what came out of this chapter for us?
I think this is the big one around this is where he talks about the flow state, isn't it?
Yeah.
The only one who's read that sort of understands that concept quite well, that it's when you're doing a challenging task, that's when you're in the best sort of mental flow state, rather than when you're actually relaxing or not thinking about what you're doing. So it's trying to encourage that kind of mindset.
There was a quote on my page 114 by Sebastian Coe, which I think sums it up lovely. Throughout my athletics career, the overall goal was always to be a better athlete than I was at the moment. Whether next week, next month, or next year, the improvement was the goal. The medal was simply the ultimate reward for achieving that goal. And that, to me, really sums up what mastery is. It's that constant trying to improve, trying to get better. The medal, the winning, is just a recognition of that. And once I've got that, great. If I still believe in mastery, then okay, what next? Where do I go after this?
I think from a motivation point of view, seeing that improvement, on a continuous basis is obviously great for your motivation, isn't it? But if you're not really focused on those improvements, and your focus is more the end goal, then and you don't get the goal, then the whole thing can be very demotivating, isn't it? I sometimes, it's interesting, you never ever become a master. That final point there, he's got the curve where you're always improving, but you never sort of quite get 100%.
No.
And sometimes, I don't know, that plays on my mind sometimes. But I think
you don't play golf, Bruce. It can't be on your mind enough.
I find sometimes at IGDev, I don't always feel happy where I am at this exact moment in time, but then I look back on what we've achieved, and I think, wow, we've achieved so much. And that, looking back and looking at all the things we have achieved and improvements we made, then becomes very motivating. And I suppose getting into that mindset of that just being a continuous thing, and you're setting those little goals, and you got that focus on the continuous improvement, and you get the satisfaction from seeing those, getting the feedback. That's a great thing.
I think that is really key. Is I think often in the pursuit of mastery, we don't look back enough. We don't appreciate how far we've come, how good we actually are now. And that must be a challenge for people in high level sport, that they have to sort of keep recognizing, look, actually, I'm very privileged now to be playing this sport at this high level, and how much better I am now than I was 5 years ago. I think the danger in sport is, obviously, there comes a point where you start deteriorating. just physically, you're not as supple, you're not as good as you were, and that for a lot of people I think is quite hard to take, and why they then have to reinvent themselves and master something else, move into another field where they can channel that energy, find that state of flow in actual another activity. Because if you don't, then you're in trouble. And I think the same is with business. When you're growing that business, you're looking for that increase in sales, increase in profitability, and it's never enough, because there's always another level. But you do have to look back, as you said, Bruce, and actually, compared to where we were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, this is far, far better than I ever thought was possible. And take some satisfaction in, in that it's the journey, not the destination, that is key. So. And how do you pronounce that word anyway? I read it, but I couldn't pronounce it.
I don't know. That's why I said it was a fourth point.
Or asymptote.
Asymptote. There you go. You learn a new word. I'll never remember it for Scrabble. That's for sure. So must be quite a high scorer. So I think the other thing for mastery is that one there. That you're never truly mastering something unless it's a pain. There's I think, what page was that we talked about? It has to be a pain. Yeah, page 123 on mine. You talked about the US military academy, cadet basic training. Where you're pushing yourself, and and I look back through my life, and the bits that I've been most proud of, and probably enjoyed the most have not been the easiest. Doing my MBA, was a pain. Golf is a continual pain. Starting the business was a pain, growing the business was a pain, but those where you've gone through the pain barrier and you've come out the other side, that's when I think you do look back and go, yeah, those were my best times. The easy times where you've sort of sat and done not a lot, taking it easy, foot off the gas, you do look back and go, well, those are a bit of a waste, really. So I think sometimes when we're with our team, we're motivated. For us, I think it's, as business owners, we're always mastering, but with our team that are doing the same thing over and over again, because that's what the job is, potentially bring into that, okay, so what are they mastering? What is challenging them? And see if, and also I think sometimes you've got to explain this to them, because you don't just want to put them under pain without them knowing. Again, autonomy is, I chose to put myself in that situation. It wasn't forced upon me. If you force, if I was told, right, Kevin, you're going to have to learn golf and become a single figure handicapper in 5 years, now's the pressure's on. But when it's my choice, and I will I'm quite happy to put myself through that pain barrier. So. Steve, any other thoughts for you on that one?
I think you've pretty much covered it. The only other thing I had was about the growth mindset and the fixed mindset. So again, it's really important. It goes hand in hand, doesn't it? You need to have that growth mindset that you're constantly evolving. And internally, that you've got the potential to get better, and you don't think this is as good as I'm going to get. Everything you do, you can improve on. So it kind of goes together with that, I think.
Yeah. I think that, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're probably right. If you think you can be better, then you will be better, because you will commit to the mastery and the hard work that it will take to get there. if you think, oh, actually, no, I'm never going to do this, I'm never going to achieve this thing, that's correct, because if you don't have that, because that's setting the intrinsic motivation, isn't it? If you think you can do it, you're setting the intrinsic motivation to do it. If you're thinking, well, I can't really do this, then you're closing down that intrinsic motivation, and perhaps maybe some external motivation will come along, but it won't be strong enough.
I think the flow stuff was very interesting to me, but particularly sort of thinking, they introduced like the health benefits of flow, which is something that never really occurred to me before. It makes sense, but that experiment they did where they deprived people of flow, and
I think that was a big learning for me. There was a quote there from Will Shortz, try to pick a profession in which you enjoy even the most mundane, tedious parts, then you will be happy. And there is that element of, you can be in flow in anything. And it was one for me was bizarrely was cutting the lawn. There was a time when I sort of I thought, why am I cutting the bloody lawn? It's a waste of my time. I'll pay somebody to actually cut the lawn. And then I thought, well, actually, when I cut the lawn, I can be in flow, because the only thing I'm worried about is cutting the lawn. I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm just doing one mundane thing as well as I possibly can. I don't particularly enjoy it when I have to cut the lawn, when it's sort of, I'm being told to by somebody else, but if I've got autonomy over it, I do it when I want to do it, how I want to do it, then I can be in flow with a simple task like that. And you can put your mind to anything. And if you just say, right, I'm just going to do this one thing, you can be in flow with it.
One thing that occurred to me is I think that the sort of work that we do, the engineering side of it, is very, very much a flow thing. People, just get in the zone and they're writing code or they're doing whatever they're doing. And then, we come along and we say, oh, could you manage this project as well? And can you do it? And that, and often people are not, sometimes initially they're like, oh yeah, responsibility, this is good. And then, with not with everyone, but with some people are like, actually, I'm not sure I enjoy that so much. I think it's because it's so easy to get into that sort of flow when you're, writing software or designing electronics or whatever. I think by contrast, trying to get into that kind of flow state where you're doing something that is more kind of bitty and less focused, of that sort of administering and managing a project. I think that might be a big piece of why people go, oh yeah, actually I prefer the technical stuff.
And you could argue that's why, in a way, managers get paid more than technical people, because they're doing something that is, in a way, not as enjoyable because it's less flow.
Yes, although it's not necessarily true to say that managers get paid more than technical people.
No.
Yes.
No, but if you've got, because management needs to happen, and if you've got loads of people, no, I'm quite happy just being in flow, and you've got to incentivize somebody to actually not be in flow and do something that's, not as enjoyable, then you're back to motivation 2.0, aren't you? I've got to reward you to do more. So yeah, how do you get management into a state of flow? That's an interesting one. Perhaps you should write a book on that one, Andy. Management by flow.
I'll have to find the answer before I can write about it.
Freaking can't get into flow. You can't bloody stay in flow for more than 5 minutes in management because you've been bombarded from other places. So our final one was purpose then. So that's my sort of clarity around the goal, and it was interesting interviewing people. Do you understand the purpose of the business? Is do they refer to the company as they or we? If I'm bought into the purpose of I'm part of the company, it's very much a we do this. If they're against it, then it's all about this is what they want to do, this is where they are. So that's quite a good little test when you do your surveys, is just to see, do they refer it as a inclusive company or exclusive. So Bruce, what's anything come out from this chapter for you?
So it's all about the bigger, the wider picture. We're sort of talking about the NHS earlier, nurses and what have you. They're often, for them, this is a bigger picture. They're looking, helping people, helping their patients, making them better. The organisation's all about improving the health of the country, whatever. That bigger goal, and if you believe in that, then that's really, really powerful. Obviously, for your motivation. I really like it.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, this is where religions comes from. Religion comes from the need for man to believe that there is something, he's part of something bigger than himself. It's I think from the awakening of consciousness, has been the question. Okay, how do I fit into this? Into this world. What am I? Am I just an ant running around, or am I part of something bigger? And there is a need for us to feel that we are part of that. So family is part of that. I'm part of something bigger than me when I've got a family. Your sort of community, maybe your club that you're a member of, the business that you're part of. That's what we're looking for, is that inclusion into something. So our job as business owners is to create that for ourselves, because we need that ourselves, but also probably more importantly for the people that are around us. What about the policies part, Nick? What did you take away from that one? Because that was one that was a little bit off the wall, I thought, towards the end.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm not too sure. I thought of the goals and the we side of it was kind of all what we were working on to start with when we were doing the vision, value, and goals. But I'll be honest, I'm not sure what I took away from the policies. I don't remember it. Find it.
That one, page 139.
I think that goes back to looking at your PDRs and enabling people to set their goals within the PDR, within the sort of business constraints, but having that autonomy to be able to do that within within the policies, within your PDR routine, as it were. I think the other thing that was interesting about this was asking people, like in a meeting, to write down what the purpose of the business is, and I think that's quite an. I think that's one we're going to do. I think in the next quarterly review meeting is get everybody to write down their own thoughts. What's the purpose of the business? It'd be interesting to see what comes from that, perhaps.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think for me the policies is really the values. If you've got that purpose and a core set of values, then it's almost allow people to create their own standards within that, their policies within that. If you're sort of talking about, if you set a direction and then set some policies, often they don't actually fit each other, and that causes people to go off the rails and go down the wrong path.
He talked about kind of tick box stuff as well, didn't he? In terms of having things like a detailed sort of ethics policy that says, thou shalt not do this, thou shalt not do that, thou shalt not do whatever. And then, inevitably there's something that's not on the list. And because you've switched people's mindsets from just an overarching value of, you should be honest and fair, to this, checklist of these are the things you shouldn't do. And suddenly you go, actually, I can do this. And you get the wrong outcome because you're trying to manage it at the wrong level.
It did difficult because I think we did the checklist manifesto a while back, and checklists are good,
Yes,
but
for ethics,
but for ethics, that's it. So for a process, they're good, but for how we should behave, an attitude, then they're not. And that's why I think when we do the values and we set, these are the words, in what context you put them and how you deliver them, that's for you to create. So, it's to keep it fairly broad so that people can then work out their way to achieve it, rather than trying to, as you said, count for everything and have a policy, because then all I'm focused on is, well, as long as I fit the policy, then I'm okay. As you said, if there isn't a policy for it, well, then anything goes. But no, because you're missing the whole point. What's the purpose? What are the values? And keep bringing people back to that, keep reinforcing it, using the values on a continual basis. Again, on a positive way, as we talked, with Steve about that positive reinforcement. Great, you've done, you've shown that value in a positive light, as much as how is that in line with our core values? Good. So that was the sort of the three key parts to motivation. He then goes into the back section about the toolkits. So we've got sort of about 7 minutes left. So strategies for awakening your motivation was sort of some of the things he sort of said there, which was, give yourself a flow test, take time out. So any of those that stood out for you or you sort of liked the thought of?
A flow test has different connotations these days, doesn't it?
Yeah, true.
I think one of the key ones obviously is the performance review. I think that's always important.
Yeah.
So whenever you want to achieve something, it's always good to have a particular milestone where you say, right, I'm going to stop. How am I doing? Am I getting close? Like you said before, mastery, you want to see gradual improvement. So over whatever period, a month, 3 months, have I improved in that time? So I think not just for your business, but obviously this is for yourself as well, isn't it? So
Yeah,
your bigger life goals, are you moving towards those as well, kind of thing? So I think that's probably the most, for me, one of the most important ones of those.
and look, go back to the appraisals. You know, what if you gave your team this and said, look, appraise yourself. You know, you come to the appraisal having appraised yourself and tell me, what is it, you know, how can we help you motivate yourself better? So I think if our team members aren't aware of this and what motivates them, then again, their first thing is, well, look, if you pay me more money, then I'll be more motivated. Pay me more money, I'll do a better job. Because that's what they know. They're still in 1.0, 2.0 programming. So we may have moved ahead, but unless we encourage our team and get our team on board with this, you know, then we're going to be using 3.0 tactics and they're going to be expecting 2.0 tactics. So if you can get, you know, ideally get them to read the book, but, you know, there may be a way to get the concept of the book reasonably simply across to them so that they can take ownership of their own motivation. That's really what we want here, is that I can't motivate you. You have to motivate yourself. I can help you with that, but it's intrinsic motivation I'm after. You know, if you're reliant on me, then we're just back to extrinsic motivation. So it's a brave step, but I think, you know, it's a step that, you know, we should all consider. But, so that was sort of the peer-to-peer rewards, and then get the team involved in this. You know, I think that, you know, go back to your point, Nick, about the 20% time. You know, it is, you know, in a service-based business where you have to deliver, and, you know, we are still in that sort of driving profit, to take too much time out. But I think there are things that you can do on perhaps on a once a quarter basis, you know, the team away day type thing. But rather than just go, right, we're just going to go karting or go for a piss up, give it some purpose, give it some, right, guys, you know, you are part of this business. You know, you have autonomy. You know, your input is valued to steer where we're heading, where we're going to go. You know, and even in the weekly meetings, you know, right, okay, so what's 3 things that we could do in the next month to improve ourselves? Get them motivated by talking about it. That was about the pay. You know, pay a little bit more, but I think you know, this is a difficult one, because you can pay people more and they can still deliver less. So, you know, you've still got to make sure that, again, that purpose, what the goal is, what winning looks like, and then encourage them, you know, again, to gain mastery and autonomy to get to where they want to go. So it's not just about, or just pay everybody more and you'll get more out of them. That's not the case. It's pay them enough money to take money off the table and then drive the purpose on what we're trying to achieve.
It wasn't in this section, but I thought it's quite interesting when he said, pay instead of getting people set goals or set rewards, do unexpected ones. So once you've completed a project, then take everyone out to dinner, but don't tell them that you're going to do it. Sometimes that's actually a bigger reward because people don't expect it then. So sort of like Bruce was saying, if it's expected, people expect it every time. But if it's unexpected, then it's a nice sort of, it's quite a nice reward for people.
Yeah. Yes, it goes back. I think that goes back to gratitude. It's a gratitude thing. Thanks for doing a great job. It really is appreciated. That's what people like. People like to be thanked. And so I think building gratitude in rather than incentives. If you do this, you get this. Right, we're going to do this anyway, and if we achieve it, great, well done, guys. Let's go out, let's treat ourselves to something. The difference, I was ashamed Clive has gone because we were talking about that for the team, is the more people you've got, the harder it is to do something that everybody enjoys. And then some people go, well, I don't want to go out for a meal, or I can't come, and you're all going out, and God. So what we said there was, we'll put some money aside, and in groups of 5, you do whatever you want to do. So you can't do it on your own. You've got to do it with other team members, and you can pull. It could be 5 people, 10 people, but you can pull your money together and go and do whatever you want to do.
Be very interested to know how well that works.
I'd say it will be interesting because it was just that fact that because Clive wrote up, we're going to go karting, bungee jumping, and I said, basically, Clive, so you want to do all the things you want to do then? Well, yeah, but that's not really a reward for them though, is it? Because they may not want to do what you want to do. Oh, okay. So we decided to. We didn't want people to say give people 100 quid to go and do something on their own, because it was very much about the team. And we thought that pooling it, that you've got to work together, so you can do any activity you want. It's got to be more than 4 people, but it can be 4 people or 40 people. It's down to you. So again, give them autonomy to do what they want to do with their funds. So we'll tell you how it goes, Andy. And then there was a bit on sort of parenting, which I thought was quite good if you've got kids, and sort of teachers and things. I did like this, turn students into teachers. I think that's a great, and I think also for your team as well, turn your team members into teachers. If somebody is mastering something, great. Well, if you can teach somebody, then you've mastered it. That's always a really good, really good thing to get across. And then obviously, we all need to motivate ourselves to do exercising. And I think, that to me that's always my one, is if I can't master it, if I can't be better at it, then I lose interest in it very quickly. So it's got to keep me engaged on a technical ability, which is generally why I play, sports rather than do fitness per se, but each to their own. I think if then bribes, if I go to the gym, I get a donut, I think that's fine. I don't think there's any problem with that. Good. So, hopefully, I think my overall take of the book is, yeah, quite a simple concept, but a very powerful concept. One for ourselves, one, yeah, that we need to get out to our team as well. They need to understand this is how they're motivated, and we need to work together to actually achieve that. And you know, if you link it back to the brain side of things, you know, then I think you can bring it up in most contexts. So if you ever feel demotivated, go back to that and go, okay, so why am I demotivated? Which one of those three am I being impacted by? It's just not being triggered. So good. So our next book club is going to be the end of May. So we've got a slightly shorter time, therefore I've made it a shorter book. So it's only a small little book. I think it's about 120 pages. Nice short chapters in it. But you know, Al Rees and Jack Trout did a book called Positioning. So that was a bigger book. So sort of pretty high in marketing, so I thought we'd dust that one off. I don't know if it's been reprinted. Mine is quite an old version. I don't know if they've redone it. Mine was 1994. So again, some of the things, you know, technology has moved on, but it's the basis of the psychology around it. So you just have to bring it into a modern day context if the book you get hasn't been updated already, which it may well have done. So it is on audio as well, so again, it shouldn't be more than an hour or so on audio. So enjoy reading that, and you know, mastery workshops there if anybody wants to come back for refreshers or put team members through any of those, then love to see you along to that. But otherwise, enjoy the rest of Friday, have a good weekend, and I will see the book club people in a month's time. So take care. See you later.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you,
Cheers,
Kevin.
Kev. See ya.
Bye now.
Cheers.